have any questions or anything that comes up from your discussion, wish to clarify? So, otherwise we will carry on.
Okay.
Sure.
Hello, Geshe. I've got a question. I don't know if it's going to be a confusing question or not. It's just about something in Christianity versus Buddhism. So in Christianity, there's this idea that things were perfect, and then there was what was called the fall, and then we had original sin and this kind of thing. And when I hear the way Buddha nature is described, like that, it's big. Like we've had beginningless lives and beginningless Buddha nature, and also beginningless ignorance. I just wondered, was there ever a point where our Buddha nature was a lot stronger than our ignorance in the past, or did we ever completely have Buddha nature without ignorance, or have we always had sort of the delusions accompanying our innate Buddha nature?
Thank you. I hope I understand your question because of my English. I think Buddha nature is always in more powerful than any of the negative force. Ever in the past, will ever be in the future. But then Buddha nature is what you call not regarded like kind of ultimate, the creator or enlightenment. Not just a permanent aspect of creator of our Buddhahood. I think from the like Christian and other theistic religious belief, is how to say, it's like permanent kind of state, absolute permanent kind of state, absolute ever perfected kind of state, and in fact no one really can able to reach up to that perfection. I don't know whether that's true or not, because no one can become a God, can become near God, can actualize the state of sinlessness, but there's no, the state of oneself becoming God, because there's only one God, there's only one creator, something like that. So the Buddhist way of establishing or asserting the Buddha nature, not just in the ultimate aspect of Buddha nature, is also have a conventional aspect of Buddha nature. The conventional aspect of Buddha nature is an impermanent nature, and more than that, everyone can able to achieve the state of the Buddhahood, the absolute perfection that what Buddha have already actualized it. Everyone can become exactly the same, can achieve exactly the same state, the same perfected state, and what do you call and that can be achieved through the individual, through the individual effort, not by the will of external factor. I think in the theistic religion belief is very much determined by external factor, and that could be the creator itself. Creates oneself to be in the state of sinless and be in the state of suffering, isn't it? Did I say correctly? Please correct me if I'm wrong. So it's not much, not much the individual have a choice. The choice is very much already determined. Your what you call who you are and what you're going to be is very much determined externally. And there's not much for yourself to determine what you want to become. Is that like that? Is that like that? So, yeah. So you're saying that it's same or different? Yes. Just now you said that it will be very confusing.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Not sorry. I should say sorry to you.
But I guess because we've had beginningless lives, but we've also had Buddha nature. I guess I wonder why. I guess my ultimate question is why aren't we already enlightened? Like why are we still ruled by? Why haven't we already got out of it?
Yeah, this is because it's our fault. I don't know about you, but it's just an example. If you are still samsaric, then it's your fault. Why you're still here? But in the other religion, maybe we can say it's God's fault. Maybe, God made me to still be in samsara. But in our case here, it's my fault and your fault. And if you think this place is not nice, then you need to fix it out. And you will continue to enjoy samsara, then carry on. Think and more ignorant and have abundance of delusion, and why not? You will have it what you want. So, yeah. I think just now you said about from the very beginning, the power of ignorance, and the power of the Buddha nature, the wisdom side. I think, how to say, I think there is, again, the beginning, the time, determining the time of beginning, as mentioned before, in our calculation, in our ordinary human's calculation, then yes, it is kind of it's a beginningless. But then I think for the omniscient, there is a beginning. So I think we all begin with Buddha nature, not begin with ignorant. Begin with the Buddha nature, and then we in fact born with pure, but then eventually we are contaminated. But it still can be debate. But that's what I think. Sorry. So it is a big discussion topic, a big analysis topic. If we begin with the ignorant, then how that's supposed to happen? If we begin with the pure nature. I think they have more reason to assert that we begin with pure nature. We have choice to. In fact, we had choice to remain absolute pure ever from the very beginning. Can we say that? Mm-hmm. No.
We can say it.
I'm not sure too. So.
Is it?
If we say in the beginning,
No, beginning of is beginning of inception of consciousness. Can we say that? Beginning of consciousness, and that beginning is as pure as a Buddha nature only, starting with that, or it's already started with the ignorant, already contaminated by ignorant. Then, what do you think?
so what level of consciousness?
No, from the very beginning, the first. If you want to make a certain kind of starting point, that is starting consciousness of our being, is started with the pure or is started with the impure?
It's a result, Geshe.
No. The starting is there a starting or no starting?
No starting, because it's
No starting.
It needs a cause. The previous moment.
A previous moment. Then there's the false of untraceable cause.
Yeah.
Yes.
It has to be. If it's a result.
It's a false of untraceable cause. It is a false to untraceable cause. You cannot trace any. You can trace the cause, isn't it? Buddha can trace the cause of the result of. If you want to pinpoint that particular, say this is the result of something else, can that cause be traced by Buddha?
Not to a beginning point, Geshe, because that would be a caused phenomenon.
So we started with we started from nowhere.
No, of course not.
There's no beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, easy to say that, but how it become no beginning? Because we don't know. That's why it's no beginning.
No, I think it's because findable. So I've read this Horace is better say there's no findable beginning.
No findable beginning. Okay, that no findable beginning for us is existent phenomena or not?
Yeah.
Is existent phenomena? If it's existent phenomena, then it has to be object of perception or omniscient, isn't it?
An object of perception. So would that mean that the mind is an object of perception?
Meaning that if it exists, then Buddha can perceive it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So since it's existing, even though it's non-existent, untraceable for us, but that untraceable beginning is still an existing phenomena or not?
Yes.
So if it's an existing phenomena, if you happen to meet Buddha directly, you ask him, what is that and when it began? Does Buddha have answer?
Yes.
He should have answer.
Yes.
So he knows where it began.
No.
Previous moment. He said previous moment.
This the Buddha could give an answer.
So can Buddha can answer to my question?
Yes.
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 So what Buddha would answer?
I'd say there's no beginning point to mind.
No beginning point of mind. Then Buddha. Then if I ask question again, is there no beginning point itself? Is existent phenomena or non-existent phenomena? What Buddha would say? If it's existent phenomena, then you are omniscient, and what's the benefit of being omniscient?
I am omniscient, you would say.
No, Buddha. Buddha, then what's a so big deal, so different from me? You are omniscient, I am not omniscient, and I also cannot figure it out, and you also cannot figure it out. Then it's non-existent. But then the only thing is that to come to a conclusion, it has to be non-existent. If it's existent, means it has to be an object of perception or omniscient.
Yeah. So that's consciousness. Is that consciousness exists? So it's an object of knowledge for a Buddha.
Yeah, but that starting what do you call it? That untraceable consciousness, that untraceable beginning of consciousness. Either we have to say non-existent phenomena, or either have to say existent phenomena.
Okay.
If we say
So then if it exists, what does it depend upon for its existence?
That I have to ask you and your Buddha. That's I'm asking to you and your Buddha. Since you're omniscient, you tell me. You tell me. You said it's existing. You said existing, but then you cannot perceive it. Then, if you cannot perceive it, if it's not an object of your omniscient perception, then it has to be exactly like the horn on the rabbit. The horn on the rabbit, Buddha cannot perceive because it's non-existent. So you either have to answer, say, non-existent, or either have to say existing. Existing means, okay, tell me.
So,
How you look like.
So, in terms of my understanding, presentations of mind, there are types of mind that have beginnings, and there's types of mind that do not. Beginnings are not findable.
Okay, that I agree. That I agree with Allah.
Yeah.
But my question. So my question is, those untraceable mind, can we just say is non-existent? Because Buddha also cannot perceive it.
Buddha would perceive it as beginningless.
Buddha would perceive it beginningless. So beginningless is beginningless. No, yes, Buddha would see beginningless.
Yes.
Fine, but there is that beginning, untraceable, untraceable beginning.
Without
Is it still a consciousness, isn't it?
Yeah, and it.
Okay, untraceable, beginningless. The consciousness is an existent phenomena, isn't it?
It's existent.
And since that is existing, can Buddha perceive that consciousness?
Yes, and it's impermanent phenomena, Geshe.
No, the Buddha can perceive that consciousness, isn't it?
Sure.
If the Buddha can perceive that consciousness,
Yeah.
then what type of that consciousness is?
It's an impermanent.
It's colorless, fine.
Yeah.
But at least either has to be virtue or non-virtue. The characteristic of the Buddha nature that what we are talking now is exactly like that or something different than that.
I don't think you can say it's pure from the beginning, Geshe.
You're Buddha, you have to say something.
It's not, I don't think it can be pure from the beginning and suddenly become impure.
Pure from the beginning. Okay, if it's not pure from the beginning,
Yeah.
then how come there is an existence of impure of that starting? How, if it's not pure from the beginning, then how possible the continuation that is, exists as a result as a pure?
The same could be asked in the reverse, Geshe.
No, you can ask me reverse, but can you answer this to me first?
It came from a previous moment of impurity. The impure mind was not causeless. It wasn't, created by permanent
it's not causeless.
Correct. It had a cause.
It has cause. What is that cause?
The previous moment of impure mind.
What is that previous moment?
A previous moment of impure mind.
What is that?
It's also a previous moment.
It's awesome. What kind of awesome?
No, also, Geshe.
Also is a previous moment.
It is also.
And what is that also a previous moment? What is that?
It's also of the similar nature being an impure mind.
So is not virtue, not non-virtue. It's not form, not formless, not conscious, not form. What is that?
Still consciousness.
Oh, it's still consciousness.
Of course.
If it's a consciousness, then why can't you perceive it?
Well, Buddha could, but we couldn't.
Buddha could perceive it. What do you look like?
Colorless, formless, shapeless.
Okay, that's fine. I understand. I'm ordinary, but I also understand that. That is virtue or non-virtue one?
Maybe it's neutral, Geshe.
Oh, well, neutral. So neutral can produce into absolute, the virtues of the nature. Where it gone with the result have to be produced by the right cause? Where? Then here, how to explain that?
Several moments of mind, though, aren't we? We're talking about different types of minds, so we wouldn't.
No, I'm talking about the subconscious, the
extreme fundamental mind.
we can say clear-eyed mind.
Yes.
This clear-eyed mind is a functioning phenomenon.
Yeah.
is impermanent. We are talking about the conventional claret mind.
Yeah.
Okay, functional. Is existing.
Yes.
Okay, that has to have a cause for that.
Yes.
And that cause has to be mind.
Yes.
Okay, and what is that mind?
Simply the previous moment of mind.
And what that simply is
It's
a mind.
Yeah. It has a.
Is a mind, and it is virtual or non-virtual.
I think it might be neutral, Geshe.
No, you are Buddha. You have to decide for me. It is not possible to be negative. It is not possible to be neutral, because the conventional Buddha nature mind is a virtue.
Yeah.
So the cause has to be similar to virtue.
Yes.
The result have the cause similar to that, isn't it? The similarity has to have a right cause to produce a right result. And here, virtue and non-virtue, the cause has to be virtue to produce a virtue right result.
Yeah.
Right result, which is the virtue.
Geshe, if we took your argument and we went the reverse side of things, how are you going to establish that it was pure from the beginning?
Huh? What?
Geshe, if we take your position...
My position, I'm sentient being. I don't understand. So if you put it in the position of Buddha's point of view, then what? Since it's omniscient. So we need to. My position is that yes, it started with the virtuous phenomena.
And what caused that?
What caused that?
Yeah.
The virtuous phenomena.
And what caused that?
Virtuous phenomena.
And so on it goes.
On and go on. Yeah, we can. For Buddha, can count.
So
But maybe for us, maybe we cannot count.
how did the virtue suddenly become...
But we can at least decide the cause is still a virtue.
Geshe, how did it go from being virtuous and pure to impure?
Virtuous, impure too.
How did it go from being pure and virtuous to becoming contaminated with...
No, the contamination is just kind of in external level.
Yes.
It is not in its innate nature.
Yeah.
The contamination is not in the innate nature of the mind, isn't it? Innate nature of the mind is always pure. So that's the conclusion.
You think it's neutral or positive? You think it's only virtuous? You don't think it's neutral?
Innate nature of the mind, you mean the Buddha nature?
The emptiness of the mind is neutral, right? That's one thing.
Okay, emptiness is emptiness of the mind is not even a mental state.
Yeah, okay, not even consciousness.
See, so anyway, okay. So tonight in the sleep we debate with the Buddha to give some clarity. No, by the way, this is something everybody struggle. To trace the beginning of beginning of the starting beginning. That's why the Big Bang theory comes about, and there are so many other theories comes about. But then every theory is quite uncomfortable. Is quite difficult, to finalize. Okay. So still the easiest way is to discuss about all the negative emotions.
Which have a beginning.
Huh?
Did I have a beginning?
You have a beginning?
No, the negative emotions.
Negative emotions have a beginning. Oh, that's quite easy.
Yeah.
That's quite easy.
Yeah, that's good.
How is that easy?
There are so many negativities. Is newly came into inception. There's so many negativities. Even as a being, the positive state of a being, it exists a long time in the past. But from many generations, many eons, the beings are also afflicted with many new afflicted emotions. Because of the degeneration of the delusion itself, make it even more afflicted. So like that. I'm not quite sure, but I would say we are started with pure, and therefore it's possibility for us to end with total purity. In between, just ups and downs. Okay. Yes, Venerable. My dear Buddha, please say something. Manjushri, please say something. Shantamani Buddha, please say something.
It has to be always virtuous mind. It has to be beginningless virtuous mind.
Yeah. So even in the in the debate, for those who debate about this subject for 20, 30 years, somehow cannot come into conclusion. There's a solid conclusion. Very difficult to answer. Any answer got some kind of unfinished argument. So anyway, yeah. Okay. So we are talking about the secondary, delusions. Maybe after we clear all these secondary and root delusions, then I think we will get the answer. I think that's the correct way, maybe. Yeah, I think that's the right way to do. Otherwise, until then, I think we cannot clarify. Because Buddha, stay in a total absorption, because he's fully satisfied with all the answers. Because he's already cleansed all these obscurations. So I think we also may be able to get the final answer only when we reach Buddha, maybe. So, okay. Yeah. Okay, so those secondary afflictions that which very much initiated by the root delusions, the anger. So now the third one, which is outrage, rage, the rageful mind. So it's also delusion. So the rageful mind's intention to utter harsh speech in reply to unpleasant words, unpleasant situations, when the rough and the malice become unbearable. So that is the outrage attitude. So that is this secondary delusion, and which is also in a certain degree of anger. Outrage is also a certain degree of anger. Even malice also a certain degree of anger. Hatred, wrath also a certain degree of anger. So you see, so all are infused by anger. So it's different name, different aspect, but it's still, it's a certain degree of anger. So then, cruelty, the cruelty attitude. So being devoid of compassion or kindness and seeking harm to others. So it is also a certain degree of anger, and it is infused by the anger. So, so then the secondary afflictive emotion, which is driven from both anger and attachment. So the previous one is, yes, rooted with ignorance, rooted with attachment, but then the initiative, the attitude is anger, and there are certain secondary emotions that which the initiative attitude, the afflictive emotions, not only anger, but on top of that, even the attachment. So both involved. So such as greed, intense clinging to, so clinging to possessions, or clinging to possessions that to be increased, clinging to loved one, clinging to enemy, clinging to what you have, clinging to what you don't have. So all this, so the clinging attitude, which is also delusion. So and it is also is a degree of attachment, a degree of So this one is So I got a mistake. So this is the secondary afflictive emotion, which is very much infused by attachment, not the anger. Sorry, I made a mistake. So very much infused by attachment. So the greed is one of them. Then self-satisfaction, vanity, self-satisfaction. So seeing one's good fortune, giving one's false sense of confidence, and being intoxicated with oneself. You see, so it's very much act of selfishness. So anything that we do, if it's very much the sensual, self-conscious satisfaction, then it becomes delusional. So then, so like a virtuous, the self the satisfactory state of mind that drive the gain by performing virtuous, beneficial deeds in relation to others' well-being are the virtuous. But then, if it's a virtuous deed that which is very much for this very lifetime's self-satisfactory purpose, then that become non-virtuous. That become delusional. It may be virtue, but it may be delusion. So you see, virtue and delusional. You see, so again there are fine line. Virtue because it may be a cause for pleasure, which may bring the result of pleasure. That pleasure, the essential pleasure within the samsaric lifetime or within the samsaric existence. But it is delusional because it lies in the nature of suffering of change. You see, so like that. So it's for long life, for your own enjoyment of a long life for this lifetime, then believing that liberating animals' life, and you go for animal liberation, virtue, but it's delusional. It's not dharma. You see, so yes, it will help. It will create a karma to prolong your life, but still, the nature of that benefit still lies in the nature of suffering of change. You see, so when we conduct animal liberation, if we are unable to conduct with the mind of compassion, with the mind of well-being of the animal's life, and just simply on the self-satisfactory, self-gain, you liberate, and that doesn't work. So you see, so there are very fine line there. And so if you really want to be absolute virtue, the virtue become a cause of liberation, the virtue become a cause of truly, creating the, truly can able to bring, resulting into, genuine virtue, genuine happiness, then it has to be done with the free of diluted intention, or diluted mind. You see. So if we are not mindful, it's like quite difficult to differentiate. And we do conduct many of virtuous deeds for self-satisfactory. I want to be happy, so I want to offer candle in front of Buddha. And that is not a pure virtue. Not a cause of absolute pure happiness. It will help to create a virtue, and that virtue can be a cause for the suffering of change. Some pleasure may achieve, but it's still in the nature of suffering of change. The benefit of that virtue cannot go further than within samsara. You see, so like that. Then we go to receive long life initiation. It's amazing Maya, tantric, blessing. But the intention to go to receive that is that because I have so many life obstacles, I want to have a long life, so I want to enjoy my long life. Then, you be in the Vajrayana, the Mahayanic practice environment, but what you are establishing then is the karma to experience suffering or change only. You see, so something like that. So when you examine, your virtues, your conducts carefully like that, then sometimes we come to a point that, almost like never really practice Dharma purely until today. You come to a point that you are like very much of mixture, Dharma and non-Dharma. It's like there's not a solid, pure virtue that you really committed in the past. It's very superficial. If we carefully, think, you see. It's still better than doing wrong thing, better than performing negativities. But then having the potential of precious human rebirth, then, we can't afford to just carry on our life with kind of a hangover. I don't know whether I use the right word. Yeah, it's like, okay, fine. So since we have such a great potential of wisdom and great precious human life, then I think if we can able to, whatever amount we practice, if we are able to practice with the correction, correctness from the initial intention, then action and the dedication fully, then it become really fruitful, so like that. Both Buddha himself, great Indian Pandits and great even the Tibetan Mahasiddhas, enlightened beings, nobody kind of like push us to, you must practice huge, you must practice very advanced, you must practice a lot. Nobody said that. Their advice, their way of kind of leading us into liberation is always based on your own kind of mental capability. So, but then they always emphasize about the correctness and the purity of the practice, the intention, the actual practice, and the dedication, so that we can. The practice may be just for a very small amount of time. Practice may be a very simple one, but then because of the purity of 3 times, really makes a huge impact to the spiritual growth. You see, if Buddha happened to say that from the very beginning, so you have to practice huge, you must dedicate 24 hours in the meditation. He didn't say that. If he said like that, then we will have a hard time. The way that teachers, gurus guide us in that way, then unless everybody can go into monastery and not do any responsibility and just sit there and just meditate, then okay. But not everybody can afford that, you see. So, so the point is that the 3 things extremely, extremely important. Whatever virtue we do, we check the intention very carefully. And if anything needed to fix before we engage into the practice, then so that way can fulfill the opportunity that what we have as a precious human rebirth. Then excitement, wildness, which is very much in the nature of mental agitation. So which is the mind which is distraction towards desirous object. The excitement mind and the inspiration, sometimes maybe looks like quite similar, because the inspiration also like really kind of like feel like very excitement, a lot of excitement to engage into the deeds, and the excitement also like that. But then here, the excitement, the delusional excitement is more mental agitation. It manifests in the manner of agitation, and it manifests in the manner of distraction towards desirous objects, desire, and the desire here, desirous attached objects, not kind of and distract towards the desirous object of enlightenment, not like that, so it's object of delusional, and not avoiding the mind to rest on the something is worldsome, the mind that which unable to rest in the worldsome, virtues, you see, and obstruction to the single-pointed mental concentration. Whenever we have this mind of agitation, the excitement, agitated excitement, our mind cannot become serviceable. You see, serviceable to the virtue. So even we want to meditate on virtue, we want to applicate in virtue, it cannot last. It cannot hold in the complete aspect of virtue. It will be contaminated. So, yeah. So these are the secondary affliction that which is infused by attachment. So now the secondary affliction that which infused by ignorance, concealment, hiding one's negative qualities when others with a good intention refer to them with the cause of regret. So it's a kind of denial mind towards one's faults. So you see, so even when we listen to Dharma, and this concealment attitude may arise many times, especially when you have a very good teacher that who is like directly pointing, directly pointing your faults straight towards in front of your nose. Then, amazing teacher, but then, you always think that no, it's not me, someone else. So when the teacher talks about the faults of the delusions, then always referring, the teacher is talking about him. The teacher is talking about him because he has so much concealment, so much attachment, so much grasping. It's like it's not about me. This is not about me. So the teacher says something which is praising virtues. He says, "Oh, it's actually talking about me." Like that. So when we listen to Dharma, it says that it has the teacher's teachings has to be to regard exactly like the mirror to your own mind. So whenever and also is whether you're listening alone or with others, you always have to think that it's talking only about me. So if there's any good thing, then acknowledge, rejoice, and find a way to develop it. If there's anything that is talking quite similar to the way how your negative emotion works, then immediately regard that this is exactly telling me, and find a way to eradicate it, so like that. So otherwise, while listening Dharma, then it's still live in the delusional mind of concealment. Then Dharma will never go into our heart, you see. So concealment can be a very dangerous, very obstructive delusion, to get the blessing of Dharma. Then dullness, so caused by fogginess, which makes our mind dark, heavy. Like almost like when we about to go into deep sleep and about to go into sleep, then there's no clarity at all. So something like that. So we need to have some sense of, awareness, which is necessary. So dullness is also as a delusional, So if we have that problem, then we need to find a way to overcome it. Sometimes when we little monk. When we first become monk, then our mind is very foggy. So the teachers used to advise us to recite Manjushri's mantra, in particularly the last syllable D. So the moment you wake up, you wash your face, then whatever amount of time that you have until you start your first session of morning gathering, then you have to recite Om Mani Padme Hum. So in monastery, when you go, you hear the little monks everywhere, they're like screaming with this like the bees, So most of them we were told that because one thing is also very young, and second thing is early morning, need to go to morning practice. Then the first thing that happens is you fall asleep, and whatever the prayers are recited, teachings are taught, nothing goes in, But then the help of this power of the mantra, it really somehow it really kind of make you so awake, clarity in your mind. You see, so whenever our mind feel foggy, then you just recite Om Mani Padme Hum. Of course, there are visualizations can be done. If one able to, that would be even more beneficial. They simply like visualize Manjushri on your crown, then then there's one syllable D in the center of Manjushri's heart. Then there's a syllable D right in the middle of your tongue. Tongue. Then there's a syllable D right at the throat, facing down. Then there's your heart here, there's your mind here, and the advaita lotus open like that. In the center, there's your mind, also in the aspect of syllable D. So when you say D, it's kind of like activate to, have a rainfall of D, going inside, and your mind just naturally become like Manjushri. So that's the way that the clarity comes. So then also, if there are some karma yoga practices that would also help to, clear our foggy mind, like cleaning altar, and offering cleaning around the holy objects. Like if you have like stupas or like on the outside, then you just simply kind of whitewash or at least wash or clean, that itself, somehow bring impact of clearing fogginess in our heart. So easy. So if you don't have that, at least whatever holy object that you have at the house, even though it's so clean, so nice, but then you just go and offers the soap brush. Just by offering that, it bring the impact of cleaning our mind. So like that. It's helpful because we've been attendant to the lamas and servant to the lamas, the whole life servant. So whole life attendant, whole life servant. So so these are not really kind of taught, in this what you call very obvious written in the scripture, but these are the kind of like traditional. The Lama's instruction that and it is so helpful, especially for the newcomers. It's very helpful because when your mind is clear, there's a lot of room for joy, happiness, knowledge. So and sometimes the fogginess comes due to the impact of too much negative karma. And sometimes the fogginess comes also due to some negative mind that which is arising in your mind, you see. So like that. So that's why clearing the fogginess of mind actually helps to purify, the negativities that which is going in your mind, and at the same time, you offer a lot of opportunity of higher knowledge, higher wisdom, like that. And sometimes just clean the house. Just go and sweep, clean the house. And in a monastery, we are assigned to do a lot of work of cleaning around the monastery, cleaning around the stupas and holy objects. And based on our own experience, it really helps so much in our spiritual practice, in our clarity of mind, and including like when we memorize the mantras and prayers, the more you clean, the more time you spend cleaning, somehow your mind becomes sharper to memorize a lot of good things, you see. So then you think that cleaning holy object, cleaning the temple, and cleaning the stupas, occupying so much of your time, and sometimes you neglect that and you directly go and spend a lot of hours to memorize it. It doesn't work because your mind is, innately foggy. And maybe I don't use the word innately. Your mind is foggy. So now I'm scared to use have to be careful because we talk so much about anyway, don't worry. I also don't know what I'm talking. Okay. Yeah. So, whenever we do meditation, whenever we want to apprehend any virtuous practice, one thing we need in order to get the maximum benefit is have the clarity and single-pointedness. These two things. Just having single-pointedness is not good enough. You need the clarity of the object of meditation. Just having clarity but not having single-pointedness, again, cannot gain the full benefit. So you need these two, clarity to the object, clarity to whatever virtues that you want to cultivate, and also single-pointedness to that. So if you have that, so why we cannot have that is due to the mind of dullness. So the dullness is a serious thing. Okay, now everybody getting tired, I know that. Very, very tired. Home money bring me home. So then the 11, what you call it, the faithlessness. Again, it is very much infused by ignorant. Faithlessness. So no belief of that which is worthy of respect. You see. So even for spiritual practice, faithfulness is extremely important. Even to develop moral perfection, faithfulness is extremely important. Even in our ordinary life, the faithfulness is extremely practical practice. Faithfulness in relationship, faithfulness in your commitments. Faithfulness to yourself. Faithfulness to others. So faithlessness. So faithlessness is the delusion. So faithfulness is the one that we want. Like faithlessness, can be like idea that virtues is unnecessary. Virtue is unnecessary. If you perform virtue, is not possible that. It's not a reality that it will produce a result of happiness, and sometimes even giving a wrong kind of analogy or wrong kind of examples, like you say, butcher, you say saving life will increase the life, but then you see that the butcher live a longer life than the one that will be doing animal liberation all the time. So why that happened? Sometimes we try to convince by that kind of examples, and this is because of due to ignorance of not knowing the third nature of the karma that which actually very much resulted into this life from the past life's karma. Why short life even though you save so much life is because of due to the past life karma and the benefit of saving life, at least you're able to live up to now. Otherwise, you may be gone for a long time. you know. And these butchers living so long life, even though every day killing so much life, it could be experiencing the total exhaustion of entire virtuous merit of long life, you know. So like that, you see. Yeah, so such a mistaken view of virtues, and also it is a form of laziness. You know, it is also a form of laziness. The faithlessness is a form of laziness. So then after that, then the actual, the delusional, the laziness comes. You see, so laziness is number 12. So being attached to temporary pleasure and not wanting to do virtues, or even do only little, and opposite to, you know, diligence. It is opposite of diligence. So you see. So even, you know, if we are unable to dedicate our life to strive altruism and to actualize, you know, instead of full enlightenment for the benefit of another sentient being, and by knowing the fact that it's taking, you know, countless years lifetime, you know, and you just kind of like, okay, I don't want to pursue this. I'd rather just give up the pursuing of altruism and falls into path that, you know, to actualize self-liberation, then even that can fall into the mind of laziness, you see. So giving up bodhicitta and falling into the just pursuing a self-liberation also is also delusional. So it is also the right thing to do, you know. So then even if there's a higher virtue and there's a, you know, minor virtue, then from our side to try our best to choose the higher virtue, even though it may be harder, even though it may be more challenging, you know. But then if we always choose to do this, the minor side, then again it may be mixture of delusional, and that even you may perform that virtue, but then there's a danger of, you know, the mind, that act may be kind of infused by delusion. So again, in order to clear that, then our motivation had to be re-corrected. Okay, so now it's already 4 o'clock. Okay, I will just go through. So forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is number 30. Forgetfulness, which is caused not to clearly remember a virtuous act. You see, so we have a lot of that, including the distraction to disturbing objects, you know. So all those are the, yeah, and also the tendency of not not keep reminded of those virtues, and always reminded of the non-virtuous, you know, not keep reminded of the virtuous mind, and eventually it leads to forget. So that's a forgetfulness. Then inattentiveness, lack of inattentiveness. So whenever there is a virtuous and dharma, then, you know, our intention, our attentiveness is not there. Then you know, you lose the benefit of the great virtue. So inattentiveness is also one of the secondary afflictive emotion, very much infused by what you call the ignorant. So now the secondary afflictive emotion drive infused by attachment and ignorant both, then hypocrisy. Okay, so I will just go through the hypocrisy. Then number 16 is what you call the hiding one's fault. What you call dishonesty. Yeah, dishonesty. So dishonesty. Then after that, the secondary afflictive emotion, which is infused by attachment, anger, ignorance, all three, shamelessness, you know, shamelessness. Then the number 18 is inconsiderateness, inconsiderateness. Then the number 19 is unconsciousness, carelessness. Carelessness. Then number 20 is distraction. And thank you. Okay, we do the short mandala and dedication, short dedication prayer, and we stop there. Can do the, no need to do the tune. Just. Chanjo Senjo Rinpoche Maje Pana Geyoche Kerwa Nyamba Mepaya Kone Mondo Perwaisho Kari Rave Kowe Shinkante Pedante Wa Chere Sewa Tenzin Yasoye Shabe Side Ten Yoro Echi Topzo Chashi Jagwen Jawe Ten Zeyon Bebe Dobo Shozo Gobe Lemon Dazo de Jembundo Shade Yo
Jetsu
Amen Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you so much.
Before
Thank
everybody
you.
leaves, on behalf of us all here, thank you so much for coming and teaching us. Wonderful weekend of teaching, and much good discussion and good debates that will continue well after today. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Geshe. We look
Thank you
forward
very
to
much.
return.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for the patience. Thank you so much.
And